Hello, friends, and welcome to Sleep Tight Stories. I'd like to say thank you to Flynn for contributing to this story. This is a story about a girl named Rachel who loves to read books. She spends all her time reading and has a great imagination. Her friends have told her about the haunted house on her street, but this day, as she walks by it to go to the store, it looks especially scary. Rachel is sure her imagination is just playing tricks on her. Let's see what she finds out. Rachel meets the Forest Witch. Rachel loved her room, which was a direct reflection of her, full of pillows, books, and everything related to the fantasy books she loved to read over and over again. She even had a collection of magic wands on the wall that her uncle made for her in his workshop. Her new house and city were growing on her. She loved the trees and the green grass, and of course, she loved all her new friends. They just moved here a few years ago and were still referred to as from away, but that didn't bother Rachel much. Her new friends were all from away too. Her mother and father said they moved here to downsize and enjoy a better quality of life. But they seemed to have just as much stuff and were as busy as they ever were. Today was not a busy day like so many others. Her parents were planning on sitting out in their backyard for most of the day, while Rachel was going to spend the morning in her room reading another series of books about mythical heroes saving people from evil monsters. Then she was meeting friends at the library. "Rachel," her mother called from downstairs, "can you come down and do me a favor, please?" "Okay, Mom, I'll be right down," Rachel yelled as she got up from her beanbag chair. After arriving in the kitchen, Rachel asked, "What's up?" "Your father and I would like to barbecue today, but we need a few items that we forgot when we went for groceries. Can you walk over to the grocery store and get a few things?" "I was just getting into the good part of the story, Mom, and then—" "I know," Rachel's mom said, interrupting. "If you are quick, you can still have time to read before you meet your friends. And I might make an ice cream treat." "Okay, if you put it that way," Rachel said with a laugh. Rachel lived just a short walk from the grocery store, which she thought was one of the reasons why her parents loved living in this neighborhood. They could send her to the store for groceries whenever they forgot something for dinner. Walking quickly down the tree-lined street, Rachel passed the infamous house that was set off from the sidewalk and behind a bunch of trees. Rachel picked up her pace whenever she went past, as all her friends told her stories about how the house was haunted or full of witches and flying broomsticks, just like the stories she read. The house looked the part, and she often wondered why it was allowed to stay in such a state. The yard looked overgrown, and the paint on the house was faded, and the corners full of cobwebs. There was even a black cat on the veranda. This day, as she walked by, she swore she could see the Forest Witch, as everyone called her, looking out one of the windows on the top floor of the house. Rachel walked a bit faster. She made it to the grocery store without being cast with a spell and zipped through the store collecting all the items her mother asked for, even a tub of her favorite ice cream, cookies and cream. She said thank you to the cashier, a friend's older brother, and walked toward the exit. As she was walking out of the grocery store, she noticed an elderly lady struggling with carrying her groceries. She walked over and asked, "Can I help you with your groceries? I could help you carry your bag to your car if you like." "Oh, why, thank you, dear," the elderly lady said, "but I don't own one of those things. I prefer to walk. It's better for my legs and better for the trees." "Oh, do you live nearby? I am walking down Longworth and would be happy to help you," Rachel asked, remembering to talk a bit louder so she could be clearly heard. "Oh, that would be so kind. I live on Longworth. Are you sure it won't be too much of an inconvenience?" she asked. "It's not too much trouble at all," Rachel said, taking her bag of groceries. After letting out a sigh, the elderly lady said, "My body doesn't work as well as it used to, I'm afraid." As they started walking down the street, the elderly lady asked, "What is your name, dear?" "Oh, my name is Rachel." "That's a nice name, dear. My name is Esther. What school do you go to?" "I just finished my final year at Birchwood and will be attending rural in the fall," Rachel said with a hint of excitement. "That's nice. I used to teach at Birchwood, but I'm afraid that was many, many years ago," Esther said. "Well, I don't think it has changed at all since then," Rachel said with a laugh. "Yes, I've heard the school could use some upgrades." "You know, Miss Esther." "Just Esther, dear." "Okay. You know, Esther, you can order groceries via an app and have it delivered, and then you don't have to walk and carry your groceries anymore." "Is that right? Well, such modern conveniences. But I never did bother learning how to use those fancy, what are they called, iPhones or smartphones? I've always walked to get my groceries, and despite all the creaks and cracks of this old body, I don't see any reason to change. Besides, I need an excuse to get out and meet nice young people like yourself. Not all modern conveniences are necessary." "You and my mother would get along very well. She always sends me to the grocery store instead of ordering via her phone," Rachel said with a smile. "There are too many cars around anyway," Esther said. "Too much traffic and noise. You best watch out for the cars, dear. They are so much bigger than when I was a young lady. And everyone seems to be in such a rush, like they have to be somewhere important." "I will. How much farther is your house?" Rachel asked. "Just up ahead. I really appreciate your help," Esther said. "It's no problem," Rachel said as they walked slowly on the sidewalk. "Well, here we are. This is my house," said Esther. Rachel was shocked, and her face started to turn pale. The house that they stopped in front of was the haunted house, the house that everyone said an evil witch lived in. "What's wrong, dear? You look like you have seen a ghost." Nothing. This is where you live?" asked Rachel quietly. "It certainly is. I've lived here for over 50 years now. I can take my groceries from here. You don't need to carry them to the door," Esther said as she looked with sparkling eyes at Rachel. "No, that's okay. I really don't mind," Rachel said. "Okay, just follow me then," Esther said as she opened the gate that guarded the entrance to the walkway of her front door. The gate opened with an incredibly squeaky sound. I must get that gate fixed, Esther mumbled. Rachel followed Esther down the short walkway through the trees which served as a home for a group of crows, by the lawn ornaments covered in spider webs, and up her creaky steps to the front door. There now, we made it in one piece, said Esther with a sigh. Now, Rachel, Esther said as she opened her purse, would you accept a bit of money for your efforts? No, that's not necessary. It's my pleasure to help. Well, how about a drink? It's hard work carrying 2 grocery bags, and you could probably use some refreshment. Have a seat here on the veranda. I won't take no for an answer. I'll be right back with some milk and some cookies I baked earlier today. Rachel nervously took a seat as Esther took her bag of groceries in through the front door, which closed behind her with a loud bang that caused Rachel to jump. As she was sitting there, the black cat she saw earlier slowly walked towards her. Uh-oh, Rachel thought. Sensing Rachel's hesitation, the cat immediately jumped on her lap and started purring, just as Esther returned with some milk and cookies. Oh, I see you have made friends with Soots, Esther said, setting the tray down on the small table by Rachel's chair. She doesn't get to meet too many young people these days. As Rachel took a drink of milk, Esther said, There you go, dear. You look better already. From the look on your face earlier, I thought I might have worn you out. Thank you for the milk, Rachel said with a big milk mustache. I was just a little bit... Let me guess. You thought I might have been the forest witch, or broomstick Esther, or whatever they are calling me these days. Well, maybe, Rachel hesitated to say. Well, you are right. I am the witch, said Esther. Sensing Rachel's growing alarm, she continued. Oh dear, you do have a wonderful imagination. I've been the witch ever since Halloween over 20 years ago. That year, I dressed up as a witch and decorated the house, scared all the older kids, and told stories to all the younger ones. It was great fun. We did that for a number of years, but after my Ralph moved on, I have been alone and just haven't had the energy to continue. But I guess, well, we weren't the best at keeping the lawn cut anyway, and the house just sort of started looking the part without any decorations. And, well, you know how kids like to make up stories, Esther continued. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't be silly, dear. I never took offense at the imaginations of kids. Maybe this year, my creaky bones willing, I'll restart the tradition. How are the cookies? Esther asked. They are perfect. It's just about time for lunch, and I am sure you have many things you would like to do, so I won't keep you any longer, Esther said. Okay, it was nice meeting you, Esther. Nice meeting you too, Rachel, and drop by for a visit. Bring your mother next time. As you said, we might just have a great deal in common. I will. Bye, said Rachel as she walked down the walkway towards the sidewalk and her home. And that's the end of our story. Good night. Sleep tight.